The radio picked up only one sound: slow footsteps and breathing that was not human. They fired. The bullets hit. The thing smiled. By sunrise, the castle was empty again. No bodies, no blood. Only a final message burned into the stone wall. You were never the hunters. And somewhere in the dark, something was still alive. The mission briefing was short and cold. Satellite images showed an old stone castle hidden deep inside the Carpathian Mountains. No roads, no lights, no civilians. The place had been abandoned for centuries. Yet, for the last 3 nights, every drone sent near it had fallen from the sky. Intelligence called it a high-value, non-human target. No one laughed. Commander Ethan Cross, leader of SEAL Team 6, studied the screen. The castle looked dead, but dead places often hid the worst things. The locals had refused to speak. One old man had whispered only one word before crossing himself in fear: vampire. At 1:48 a.m., the helicopter cut its lights and dropped the team 2 kilometers from the target. Snow crunched under their boots. The wind howled like something alive. Night vision turned the world green, but the castle ahead stayed unnaturally dark, as if it swallowed light. Cross raised his fist. The team froze. The air felt wrong. Too quiet. Even the insects were silent. They moved closer, weapons ready. Thermal scanners showed no heat inside the structure. No guards, no animals, no life. Clear, whispered Lieutenant Mark Hale. That word would haunt him. The main gate stood open. Heavy iron doors, rusted and cracked, as if inviting them inside. Stone walls rose high above, carved with symbols older than any language they knew. Some looked scratched. They entered. The moment Cross stepped past the gate, the temperature dropped. Breath turned white. Frost crawled across the stone floor like living veins. Their radios hissed, then went silent. Comms are down, Hale said. Switching to backup. Nothing. A faint sound echoed through the corridor. Not a voice. Not a growl. Breathing. Slow. Calm. Patient. The night vision screens flickered. Then, without warning, one soldier vanished. No scream. No struggle. Just empty air where a man had been standing. Cross turned sharply. Where's Ramirez? No answer. Only darkness. And somewhere deep inside the castle, something smiled. Commander Ethan Cross stood frozen for half a second, staring at the empty space where Ramirez had been. One moment, Ramirez was there, covering the rear, rifle steady, breath calm. The next moment, the space beside the stone pillar was empty. No scream, no gunshot, no shadow moving away. Just absence. Ramirez? Cross whispered. Silence answered. The team tightened instantly, years of training taking over. Weapons came up, backs pressed together. Night vision swept the corridor in sharp green lines. No movement, whispered Lieutenant Mark Hale. No heat, no sound. That was the problem. Cross felt it in his gut. In war, chaos made noise. Here, the silence felt intentional. Castle took him, muttered Reese under his breath. Cross ignored the comment, but didn't correct it. They moved forward slowly, every step measured. The corridor stretched ahead, lined with cracked stone and old carvings, figures with hollow eyes, mouths open as if screaming. The air smelled metallic, like rust mixed with cold earth. The radios hissed again, then died. Backup comms? Cross asked. Hale shook his head. Dead. All channels. The castle was isolating them. They reached a wider chamber once. A grand hall. The ceiling rose high above, broken by darkness. Statues stood along the walls, armored knights, priests, nobles. Every face carried the same expression: fear. Cross lifted his hand. The team halted. Something felt wrong with the floor. He knelt, running a gloved hand across the stone. Deep grooves cut into it, old and darkened, not from weapons, from dragging. Blood, Quinn whispered. Hold. A sudden sound echoed above them. A soft thud. Then another. Cross looked up just as a body fell from the ceiling. Ramirez hit the floor hard, bones cracking. His neck bent at an impossible angle. His eyes were open, staring at nothing. 2 deep puncture marks stained his throat. Hale swore under his breath. Before anyone could move, the lights died. Complete darkness. Night vision failed. Thermal failed. The darkness felt thick, like water. Then a voice spoke. Not loud, not angry, calm. You move like soldiers, it said, but you breathe like animals. The sound came from everywhere at once. Cross fired a short burst toward the voice. Muzzle flashes lit the room in brief explosions of light. In those flashes, Cross saw something wrong. Ramirez's body was gone. The floor was clean. No blood, no corpse. The lights flickered back on. The team stared at the empty floor, disbelief crawling into their minds. That's not possible, Quinn whispered. A blur crossed the room. Before Hale could react, something grabbed him and lifted him off the ground. His rifle slipped from his hands, clattering uselessly. Hale struggled, gasping. His boots kicked air. Then teeth sank into his neck. Blood sprayed the stone wall. Hale screamed once. Then the scream stopped. Cross fired, aiming center mass. The bullets hit. They landed. The thing holding Hale didn't even stumble. Red eyes opened in the darkness. A pale face turned toward Cross. The creature's expression wasn't angry. It was curious. It dropped Hale's body to the floor, like discarded equipment. Hale didn't move. The vampire stepped forward into the light for the first time. Tall, pale, human-shaped but wrong. Its eyes glowed like embers. Blood stained its lips, fresh and dark. Steel on fire, it said softly. You trust them too much. Cross emptied his magazine. The vampire blurred and vanished. The bullets hit stone. Silence returned, broken only by heavy breathing. The team regrouped around Hale's body. This time, the body stayed. Cross checked for a pulse. Nothing. 2 men dead. 1 missing. Cross forced his voice steady. This thing is fast, strong. It controls light and comms. We adjust. Reese swallowed. Sir, this isn't a hit mission anymore. Cross looked at the dark hall ahead. No, he said quietly. It's a survival mission. A low laugh echoed from somewhere deeper in the castle. The voice returned, closer now. You came here to kill me, it said. But you brought me food. The lights dimmed again. Cross tightened his grip on his rifle. The castle wasn't abandoned. It was awake, and it had tasted blood. Commander Ethan Cross did not allow himself to look at Hale's face for long. He had learned long ago that grief could wait. Fear could not. Form up, he ordered quietly. Only 4 of them remained now. The empty space where Hale should have been felt heavier than his body on the floor. Quinn stood stiff, jaw clenched. Reese kept glancing upward, his finger tight on the trigger. The last operator, Mason, said nothing at all, his eyes fixed on the shadows like he expected them to move. Cross checked his watch. 2:23 a.m. Less than 10 minutes inside the castle. 2 men dead. 1 taken. This place controls the fight, Cross said. So we stop reacting. We move slow. We move smart. No one answered, but they nodded. They advanced down a side corridor, boots careful against the stone. The walls were closer here, pressing in. Scratch marks ran along the surface deep, uneven, like something had dragged metal claws again and again over centuries. Night vision flickered. "NV's unstable," Mason whispered. "Everything is unstable," Reese muttered. The air felt colder the deeper they went. Their breath fogged in front of their faces, even through masks. Cross felt pressure in his ears. The same feeling you got when diving too deep, too fast. Then came the sound, a whisper. Soft, layered, as if more than one voice was speaking at the same time. It wasn't English, but it wasn't random either. It had rhythm, almost prayer-like. Cross raised his fist. The team stopped. The corridor opened into a small chapel. Wooden benches lay shattered across the floor. The stone altar at the front was cracked down the middle, dark stains soaked deep into its surface. A massive cross was carved into the wall behind it upside down, old and intentional. Candles stood in a perfect circle on the floor. All of them lit. Cross felt his pulse spike. Nobody touch anything. Quinn crouched, studying the flames. "Sir, these aren't old. Wax is still dripping." The candles blew out at once. Darkness swallowed the room. Night vision died. Then the whispering returned closer now. "You smell like war." Cross turned, rifle sweeping. Muzzle flashes burst as Reese fired instinctively. For a split second the chapel lit up. In that flash, Cross saw it again. A face. Pale. Calm. Smiling. Too close. The light died. "Contact!" Mason shouted. The candles relit one by one, slow and deliberate, as if an invisible hand was lighting them. Something lay in the center of the circle. A small metal object. Cross knew what it was before he saw it clearly. Ramirez's dog tag. Quinn stepped forward. "Don't," Cross warned. Quinn froze, but his foot brushed the edge of the circle. The chapel doors slammed shut. The sound was violent, final. Dust fell from the ceiling. The air shook. Reese rushed the door, slamming his shoulder into it. The wood didn't move. "Locked," he said, breath sharp. Solid. The whispering began again. This time, it came from everywhere. From the walls. From the floor. From inside their helmets. "You came to kill me." Cross aimed at the altar. "Show yourself." A soft laugh answered him. "You carry your son with you," the voice said. "But it is sleeping." Cross understood instantly. Sunrise was hours away. Their UV tools were in the secondary kit stored deeper inside the castle, near the marked objective room. The vampire knew that. Reese pulled out a small breach charge. His hands were steady, but his eyes were not. "If this works," he said quietly, "we move fast." He placed the charge on the door. The whispering stopped. Silence pressed in so hard it felt physical. Reese detonated. The explosion shook the chapel. Smoke filled the room. Cross felt relief rise. Then the smoke cleared. The door was untouched. Perfect. No cracks. No burn marks. Reese stared at it, disbelief breaking through training. "That's not possible." The vampire's voice whispered directly behind Cross's ear. "Your world lives by rules," it said softly. "Mine lives by hunger." Cross spun and fired. Nothing. Then Quinn screamed. Something yanked him backward across the stone floor. His boots scraped deep lines as he clawed at nothing, rifle slipping from his grip. The vampire appeared, fully, tall, pale, wrapped in a long, dark coat that moved like shadow. Its eyes were deep red, not glowing wildly, but focused, intelligent. It held Quinn with one hand. Quinn shook violently, trying to raise his weapon. "You shoot first," the vampire said calmly. Every time. Then it bit. Not gently. It tore into Quinn's throat with animal force. Blood poured down its chin, dark against pale skin. Quinn's legs kicked once, twice, then fell still. Cross emptied his magazine into the vampire's head and chest. The bullets hit. The vampire did not react. It watched Cross calmly, chewing as if studying him. Then it dropped Quinn's body. The body hit the floor and stayed. The vampire stepped closer, eyes locked on Cross. Now, you will chase me, it whispered, because you need to believe you can win. The candles blew out again. Darkness returned. Cross stood over Quinn's body, rage burning through his fear. And in that moment, he understood the truth. The vampire was not just killing them, it was studying them, learning how they moved, how they thought, how they hoped. The castle was not a battlefield. It was a classroom, and they were failing. Commander Ethan Cross forced himself to kneel beside Quinn's body. Blood spread slowly across the stone, dark and thick. The smell hit him next, iron, heat, life-ending. The vampire had let the body stay this time. That was not mercy. It was a message. He wants us angry, Cross said quietly. Anger makes mistakes. Reese swallowed hard. Sir, bullets don't work. Charges don't work. What does? Cross stood. Light. Fire. Distance. We stopped playing its game. They moved out of the chapel fast, dragging Quinn's body just far enough to recover his equipment. Cross hated leaving the dead, but staying longer would kill the living. The corridors twisted like veins. Turns appeared where none should exist. Hallways felt longer going one way, shorter going back. Mason checked his compass. It's spinning, he said. This place messes with direction. Cross wasn't surprised. They reached a narrow armory room, one of the objective points marked on the satellite scan. Old crates lined the walls, half-rotted but sealed with modern locks. Here, Reese said. Secondary kit. They cracked the cases open. Inside, UV flash units, incendiary grenades, magnesium flares, tools meant for something intelligence never wanted to name out loud. Cross felt control return. Just a little. We bait it, he said. Light it up. Burn it. We don't chase. Mason hesitated. Sir, it hears everything. Cross met his eyes. Then it'll hear this. They moved into a wide stone gallery, ceiling broken open to the night sky above. Moonlight poured down in pale beams, cutting the darkness into strips. Cross placed 2 UV units facing inward. Reese armed a flare. Mason took position near a collapsed pillar, rifle steady. On my mark, Cross said. Silence. Then slow clapping echoed from the shadows. The vampire stepped forward into the moonlight. Its skin did not burn. It did not smoke. It simply watched the light touch it, curious, like a scientist observing a flame. You learned, it said calmly. Good. Cross triggered the UV. White light exploded outward. The vampire hissed, not in pain, but surprise, and blurred backward as the beam struck its face. Smoke rose where the light touched its skin. Now! Cross shouted. Reese hurled the flare. Fire burst across the stone, bright and violent. The vampire moved fast, but not fast enough. Flames caught its coat. For the first time, it screamed. A real scream. The sound was sharp, furious. Mason fired controlled bursts, forcing it back into the light. The vampire stumbled, skin blackening where UV struck. Hope surged through Cross. Keep pressure, he yelled. The vampire fell to one knee. Then it laughed. Even burning, even screaming, it laughed. You think light is truth? It said through clenched teeth. But light lies. The floor beneath Mason cracked open. Stone collapsed. Mason vanished with a shout as the ground swallowed him whole. No! Cross shouted. The UV units flickered. The moonlight dimmed. Clouds rolled across the sky above, fast and unnatural, smothering the open ceiling in shadow. The fire died. Darkness rushed back like a wave. The vampires stood. The burns faded as they watched. Skin healed. Flesh closed. Red eyes glowed brighter than before. Reese backed away slowly. Sir, it used the environment. It waited. Cross understood too late. The vampire hadn't feared the light. It had tested it. You bring weapons, the vampire said, stepping closer. I bring patience. It moved. Too fast. Reese screamed as he was lifted off the ground and slammed against a pillar. Stone cracked. His rifle fell uselessly. Cross fired, aimed for the eyes. The vampire dodged casually. It seized Reese by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. Cross rushed forward, slamming a UV unit directly into the vampire's face. The vampire recoiled, hissing in genuine pain this time. Reese fell, gasping. Run! Reese shouted. Cross grabbed him and dragged him back as the vampire recovered. Its expression no longer amused. It was annoyed. You adapt quickly, it said. But adaptation is not victory. The ceiling groaned. Stone dust rained down. The castle was changing again. Corridors shifting, walls grinding, paths closing. Cross realized the worst truth yet. The vampire didn't just live here. It commanded the castle. Mason's scream echoed once from somewhere far below, then stopped. Silence. Cross pulled Reese into a narrow passage, just as Stone slammed shut behind them, sealing off the gallery. They were alone now. 2 men left. Cross leaned against the wall, chest heaving. Reese coughed blood. Sir, if we can't kill it. Cross looked into the darkness ahead. Then we survive, he said. And we take it with us into the sun. Somewhere in the walls, the vampire's voice followed them, calm and certain. There is no sun here, it whispered. Only time. And time was on its side. The passage narrowed until Cross had to turn sideways to move. Stone pressed against his shoulder. Reese stumbled beside him, one hand clamped to his ribs, breath wet and uneven. Every step left a faint smear of blood on the wall. We don't stop, Cross said quietly. Talk keeps you awake. Reese forced a breath. Copy, sir. They moved without lights. The vampire had taught them that illumination was an invitation. Darkness was no longer the enemy. It was the language of the place. The corridor bent sharply and opened into a circular room. No doors, no windows, just a smooth stone floor and walls carved with shallow lines that spiraled inward like fingerprints. Cross halted. The air felt heavier here, thicker, as if sound itself had weight. Sir, Reese whispered. This room's wrong. Cross nodded. His skin prickled. He checked the walls. No seams, no gaps. A trap without teeth. Those were the worst kind. Then the voice came, soft, familiar. Ethan. Cross froze. The vampire did not shout. It never had to. It spoke as if it were standing close enough to share breath. You learned quickly, the voice continued. Light, fire, anger. You tried all of them. Reese raised his rifle, spinning slowly. Sir, I don't see. He's not here, Cross said. He's talking. The vampire laughed, low and pleased. Yes, it said. Talking is how I begin. The spiral carvings on the walls shimmered, not glowing, moving. Cross felt his stomach tighten as shapes formed inside the stone. Faces, memories. The first image struck him like a blow. A desert road, heat rippling, a burned-out convoy, men shouting over radio static. Cross blinked hard. "No," he said. "You remember the smell?" The vampire whispered. "Fuel. Blood. Sand." Reese staggered. "Sir, what is it showing you?" Cross didn't answer. The walls changed again. A different memory surfaced. Nighttime. Rain. Red, blue lights, reflecting off wet asphalt. A door kicked open. A shadow moved too fast. A mistake made in half a second. A body on the floor. Civilian. The vampire's voice slid into his ear. "You pulled the trigger," it said gently. "You tell yourself it was war. You tell yourself rules were unclear." Cross clenched his jaw until it hurt. "You're lying." "Am I?" the vampire asked. "I taste truth. It is loud." Reese cried out suddenly and dropped to one knee. Cross turned. "Reese!" Reese's hands shook violently. His pupils were blown wide. "It's showing me my daughter," he gasped. "She's older." "But she's calling me." The vampire chuckled. "I give you what you hide from," it said. "I don't invent. I reveal." Cross moved to Reese's side. "Look at me. Don't listen." Reese tried. His gaze flickered, fighting images only he could see. The room darkened. The spiral lines tightened. Cross felt pressure build behind his eyes. The vampire wasn't attacking their bodies. It was pulling at their reasons to live. "You came here believing you were hunters," the voice continued. "But hunters carry wounds. Prey carries fear." Cross stood, raising his rifle not to shoot, but to ground himself in motion. "What do you want?" The vampire paused, then spoke honestly. "I want to know you," it said. "Before I finish you." The floor trembled. A narrow doorway opened silently behind Reese. Reese didn't see it. Cross did. "Reese," he said sharply. "Step back." Too late. Something moved behind Reese. Fast. Precise. The vampire appeared fully, as if stepping out of the wall itself. No flourish. No sound. Just presence. Reese turned. The vampire struck. Not with claws. With teeth. It bit deep into Reese's shoulder, tearing through fabric and flesh. Reese screamed as blood poured down his arm. The vampire held him there for a long second, long enough to drink. Cross fired point blank. The bullets struck stone. The vampire released Reese and vanished again, leaving Reese collapsed on the floor, shaking violently. Cross dragged him back, pressing a bandage hard against the wound. "Stay with me," Cross ordered. "Eyes on me." Reese's skin was already going pale. Veins darkened around the bite, spreading like ink in water. "Sir," Reese whispered, terrified. "I feel cold." Cross knew what that meant. The vampire's voice returned, calm and cruel. "Not death," it said. "Change." Cross's chest tightened. "You won't take him." "I already have," the vampire replied. "Now you carry the clock." The walls began to move again. The room reshaped itself, opening a long corridor ahead, straight, clear, inviting. "A path. Forward," the vampire whispered. "Toward your son." Cross understood the game. Reese was infected, not dead, not yet. Every step forward mattered now. Every delay helped the vampire. Cross lifted Reese, forcing him to his feet. "We move," Cross said. "No matter what you hear." Reese nodded weakly. "If I turn, you won't," Cross cut in. "Not while I'm here." They stepped into the corridor as the room sealed behind them. The vampire watched from everywhere and nowhere, satisfied. Because now, the hunt had changed. It wasn't about killing them anymore. It was about watching Cross choose. The corridor stretched ahead in a perfect straight line. That alone made Cross uneasy. Castles did not do straight lines. Not ancient ones. Not ones that moved when you weren't looking. This path was too clean. Too deliberate, like it wanted them to believe in escape. Rhys leaned heavily on Cross, every breath a struggle. His skin had lost its warmth. Dark veins spread slowly from the bite, crawling up his neck like living ink. "How long?" Rhys asked quietly. Cross didn't answer. He didn't know. They walked in silence, boots echoing softly. No whispers now. No laughter. The vampire had gone quiet, and that was worse. Silence meant patience. Then Rhys stiffened. "Sir," he said, voice shaking. "I hear something." Cross stopped. "What?" "Birds," Rhys whispered. "I hear birds." Cross frowned. That was impossible. Then he heard it too. Faint. Distant. A sound that did not belong underground. Morning. The corridor ended at a massive iron door. Cracks ran through it. Thin lines of gold light bleeding through from the other side. Sunlight. Real sunlight. Cross's heart slammed hard against his ribs. He rushed forward and pressed his face close to the door. Warmth touched his skin. He could smell fresh air. Pine. Snow melting. "We made it," Rhys breathed. "Sir, we made it." Cross grabbed the handle and pulled. The door didn't move. He tried again. Nothing. Rhys laughed weakly. "It's locked, isn't it?" Cross examined the hinges. Old, rusted, but solid. "This door opens," Cross said. "Just not yet." The vampire's voice returned, smooth and close. "You smell hope," it said. "It's my favorite scent." Cross turned, rifle up. The vampire stood behind them now, fully visible, untouched by the faint sunlight leaking through the cracks. The light stopped inches from its feet, as if afraid. "You could leave," the vampire continued calmly. "You alone." Rhys stiffened. "Sir?" Cross didn't speak. "You would reach the sun," the vampire said to Cross. "Your blood would remain human. Your guilt would stay manageable." Its eyes flicked to Rhys. "But he will not." Rhys's breathing grew ragged. "Sir, don't listen." Cross felt the weight of the choice settle on him like stone. The vampire smiled gently. "He is changing," it said. "You feel it. Soon he will hunger. Not for blood at first. For silence. For sleep. For forgetting." Rhys groaned and dropped to one knee, clutching his head. "I see things," he whispered. "Faces." "Sir, I don't want to hurt anyone." Cross knelt beside him. "You won't." The vampire tilted its head. "You already lied once tonight, Ethan." The walls around them shifted. Stone groaned. The corridor behind collapsed, slowly, sealing itself. Only the sunlit door remained, a clock without numbers. "You have minutes," the vampire said. "Perhaps less." Rhys grabbed Cross's sleeve with surprising strength. "If I turn, you have to do it." Cross met his eyes. Rhys was afraid not of death, but of becoming something else. "I won't let you become it," Cross said. The vampire stepped closer. The light dimmed slightly. "There are many ways to keep a promise," it said. Rhys screamed suddenly, arching backward. His teeth clenched hard enough to crack. Dark veins surged up his face. His eyes flashed just for a second, with a faint red glow. Cross pulled his sidearm. Rhys saw it. "No," Rhys begged. "Not like this. Not before." The vampire raised one hand. The sunlight cracks narrowed. Cross understood. The door was tied to Reese. His infection was the key. If he dies, Cross said slowly. The door opens. The vampire nodded. You learn very fast. Reese looked at Cross, tears streaming down his face. Sir, he whispered. Do it. Please. Cross's hands shook. The vampire leaned close, voice almost kind. This is command, it whispered, and command always costs lives. Cross pressed the barrel of the gun to Reese's forehead. Reese closed his eyes. I'm sorry, Cross said. The vampire smiled. Cross fired. The sound was deafening. Reese's body went still. For one terrible second, nothing happened. Then the iron door creaked. Light poured in, real, warm, alive. Cross staggered back, heart hammering. The vampire hissed sharply, stepping away from the growing light. Well done, it said, eyes burning with something like respect. You chose correctly. The door swung open. Morning exploded into the corridor. Cross ran. He burst out onto a snow-covered mountainside, sunlight blinding him. Cold air filled his lungs. He fell to his knees, gasping. Behind him, the castle groaned. Cross turned. The doorway was gone. Stone sealed itself smoothly, leaving only a solid cliff face. No entrance, no exit. No sign of anything ever being there. Birds sang in the trees. Cross screamed a raw, broken sound and slammed his fist into the snow. He was alive. Alone. Behind the stone, deep in the dark, the vampire watched the sun rise without touching it, and smiled. Because the hunt was not over yet. Sunlight did not feel like victory. It felt like exposure. Commander Ethan Cross staggered down the snow-covered slope, every step unsteady. His eyes kept pulling back to the cliff face where the castle entrance had been, where it should have been. There was nothing. No doors, no cracks, no ruins. Just solid mountain rock, ancient and silent. Cross forced himself to move. Survival came before understanding. He activated his emergency beacon and switched to an open channel. This is Commander Ethan Cross, he said, voice hoarse. SEAL Team 6, compromised. Request immediate extraction. Static. Then faint, crackling response. Cross? Say again. Relief hit him so hard his knees nearly buckled. This is Cross, he repeated. I am the only survivor. Coordinates? He checked his wrist unit, frowned. Stand by. My location is unstable. The device flickered. Coordinates jumped wildly, shifting by kilometers and seconds. Copy, Cross, the voice replied, uncertain. We're tracking something. But it keeps moving. Cross looked back at the mountain. No, he whispered. It's not moving. It's hiding. The extraction helicopter arrived 30 minutes later. The pilot's face was pale as Cross climbed aboard. Sir, the pilot said carefully. Command says, there's no record of a structure here. Satellite scans show nothing. Cross said nothing. As the helicopter lifted off, Cross stared down at the forest below. Snow, trees, shadows. Ordinary, peaceful, too peaceful. Back at the forward operating base, doctors checked him from head to toe. No bites, no infection, no anomalies. You're clean, one medic said. Physically. Cross nodded. That night, he didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard Reese's voice. Saw Quinn's blood on the stone. Felt the trigger pull again. At 2:17 a.m., Cross sat upright in his cot, heart pounding. The same time they had entered the castle. The lights in the medical tent flickered. Cross froze. The temperature dropped. Slow footsteps echoed soft, unhurried. Cross stood, every instinct screaming. The footsteps stopped, just outside the tent. Then the familiar voice spoke, calm and intimate. "You carry my night with you now." Cross stepped outside. The base was empty. No guards, no vehicles, no sound. The world stood still, frozen like a paused video. At the far edge of the floodlights, a tall figure waited. The vampire, unburned, unhurried, perfectly calm. Cross raised his weapon. The vampire smiled. "You know better." Cross lowered the rifle slowly. "Why let me live?" The vampire stepped closer, boots crunching softly on gravel that no longer made sound. "Because hunters tell stories," it replied, "and stories travel faster than fear." Cross clenched his fists. "You wanted me to escape?" "Yes." "Why?" The vampire's eyes darkened not with anger, but with depth. "Because you will warn them," it said. "You will train them. You will bring stronger light, better weapons, better minds." It leaned closer. "And they will still die." Cross swallowed. "You could have killed me." The vampire nodded. "I still can." "Then do it," Cross said quietly. The vampire studied him for a long moment. "No," it said. "You are more useful alive." The floodlights snapped back on. The base returned voices, movement, engines. The vampire was gone. Cross stood alone, shaking. The next morning, Cross was flown out and debriefed for 12 straight hours. Analysts questioned him. Scientists argued. Officers whispered, "No castle," they said. "No vampire," they said. "Combat stress," they said. Cross didn't argue. He knew what he had seen. Weeks passed, then months. Cross was reassigned desk duty, training units, consulting on unconventional threat scenarios. Every night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., Cross woke up. Always. Sometimes he heard breathing that wasn't his own. Sometimes he smelled cold stone and old blood. And sometimes he dreamed of the castle, not collapsing, not burning, waiting. One evening, a classified file appeared on his desk. No sender, no clearance stamp, just coordinates. And a single line of text. "They are coming better prepared." Cross stared at the words for a long time. Slowly, he closed the file. He understood now. The vampire had not survived SEAL Team 6. It had studied them. And now it was ready for the next hunt. Cross stood, grabbing his jacket. If the vampire thought this was over, Commander Ethan Cross stood alone on the airstrip as dawn broke. The sky burned orange and gold, beautiful in a way that felt cruel. Sunlight had become something else to him now. Not safety, not hope, just a reminder of who hadn't made it out. Quinn, Mason, Hale, Ramirez, Reese. Their names stayed with him like weight. The file burned in his thoughts. Coordinates. No sender, no explanation. Cross had spent weeks convincing himself it was a trick, a symptom, a scar left by fear and guilt. But the timing was too perfect, the language too familiar. The vampire did not lie. It revealed. That night, Cross made his decision. He didn't request permission. He didn't alert command. He didn't bring a team. Some hunts ended only one way. The coordinates led him back to the mountains, but not to the castle. Not directly. The path ended at a frozen village buried under snow and silence. Old homes, broken windows, footprints frozen mid-step, as if the people had simply vanished. Cross moved slowly, weapon ready. He felt it before he saw it. The pressure, the stillness, the sense of being observed with ancient patience. "Come out," Cross said aloud. "I'm alone." A soft sound echoed behind him. Clapping, slow, respectful. "You learned," the vampire said, stepping into view. That is rare. It looked unchanged, unmarked by fire or light. Its red eyes reflected the snow like spilled wine. Cross raised his rifle not to shoot. "You didn't let me go," Cross said. "You released me." The vampire nodded. "A messenger must walk." "Why them?" Cross demanded. "Why SEAL Team 6? The vampire turned its gaze to the frozen village. "Because warriors believe in rules," it said. "And I was born before rules existed." It gestured to the houses. "This place fed me once, long ago, when armies marched with steel and faith instead of guns. I slept. I waited." Cross felt his chest tighten. "You woke up," he said. "Yes," the vampire replied. "Your world is loud now. Satellites, drones, light everywhere." It smiled faintly. "I needed to know if the night still mattered." Cross understood. They hadn't been sent to kill the vampire. They had been sent to test the age of man against the age of monsters. "And?" Cross asked. The vampire's eyes darkened. "I am satisfied." Snow crunched beneath Cross's boots as he stepped closer. "You could have ended it," he said. "You let me live so I would bring others." "Yes," the vampire said. "But you came alone." Cross met its gaze without fear. "I'm not here to bring anyone." The vampire studied him for a long moment. Then it laughed. Quiet, genuine. "Good," it said. "Then you finally understand." The wind picked up. Clouds rolled over the moon. The village darkened. Cross raised his weapon, not the rifle. A small metal case sat in his other hand. He opened it. Inside, a single flare, modified beyond standard issue. Magnesium core, UV-coated casing. Experimental. Illegal. Reese's last gift. Unfinished. Unapproved. The vampire felt it immediately. Its smile faded. "That light," it said slowly, "does not belong to you." Cross pulled the ignition cord. The flare ignited with a violent white scream. Light tore through the village like a blade. Snow vaporized. Shadows burned. The vampire screamed this time, in true pain, as the light cut deep, peeling flesh, cracking ancient skin. It staggered back, furious now. "You would burn the world to end me?" it roared. Cross stepped forward into the glare. "No," he said calmly. "Just the night you chose." The vampire lunged. Cross held the flare between them. Light exploded. The vampire collapsed, body writhing, skin turning to ash and stone. The scream faded into a sound like wind dying in a cave. The light burned out. Silence returned. When the snow settled, there was nothing left. No body, no ash, no shadow. Just empty ground. Cross dropped to one knee, exhausted, breath shaking. The night lifted. For the first time since the mission, Cross felt it. Stillness, without pressure. Morning arrived slowly. Real this time. Weeks later, the report would say the village collapse was caused by a gas pocket beneath the ice. No evidence of combat. No anomalies. And he would listen. Because deep down, he knew the truth. The vampire was not the last. It was only the one that chose to be tested. And humanity had passed, not because it was stronger, but because one man chose to end the hunt. Before the night learned too much. The end.